Hey everybody, thanks for checking out the Awesome Walter YouTube channel. If you like what you see, make sure you subscribe and click the bell icon to be notified when new videos are going up. I saw a lot of movies that came out in 2019, 58 to be exact, which is by far and away the most I've ever seen in a single year. I was invited to a decent amount of advanced critic screenings, which helped, but I wanted to make sure I went out of my way to see most of the award contenders this year. I can't say I've seen every single film that's been nominated for an Oscar, but I am confident in the list I've put together here. It would have been preferable to get this video up a couple weeks ago, but I had to wait a bit to see some stragglers that weren't out in my area until very recently. So anyway, here are my top 10 favorite movies of 2019. I know what you're thinking, is this just going to be a favorite Marvel movies list? No, it's not. This is the only Marvel movie on here. I went back and forth a lot between this and an honorable mention you'll see later, but Endgame won out for me. This isn't my favorite Marvel movie and might not even be the best Avengers movie, but it is undeniable what an absolute thrill this was to see in a packed theater. The film takes some big risks and has a few issues here and there, but as the temporary culmination of a franchise that started in 2008, this was everything I could have wanted and more. Of course, we get the incredible, visually stimulating, and emotional climactic battle in the third act, but all of that is earned, and the stakes were appropriately set up earlier on. It may not be perfect, but it should be acknowledged as the massive achievement it is. The highest grossing movie of all time slides in at number 10 on my list. Christian Bale is one of my favorite actors, maybe my favorite ever. If he attaches himself to a project, you know it's going to be something interesting and of a certain quality. Ford vs. Ferrari is no exception. The true story of 1966's 24 Hours of Le Mans made for a very entertaining film with loads of great character work from Bale and co-star Matt Damon. The racing sequences are exciting to see play out and also feature a sense of refreshing realism. Director James Mangold has proven time and again to be a quality storyteller, and Ford vs. Ferrari proves that once again. I'm not much of a car guy, but my dad is, and we saw this together. He loved it, so it will likely please those familiar with the story and those who are just looking for a fun, heartfelt, and gripping racing film. I wasn't able to see Marriage Story in its limited theatrical run, but I did catch it on Netflix, and oh man, what a tour de force of fantastic performances. Adam Driver is quickly becoming one of the elite actors of his generation. Whatever you think of the new Star Wars films, most agree he's the best thing in them. With other recent quality turns in The Report and BlacKkKlansman, he's more than well on his way to creating a real legacy for himself. Marriage Story features perhaps his best performance yet, and he's not the only one going all out here. Laura Dern and Scarlett Johansson also turn in some of their best work in this stark portrayal of divorce and the effect it has on a family. It's tough to get through by design, and you really feel for both the husband and wife. Neither of them are really painted as the bad guy, as they've both made mistakes and are shown to have their good qualities too. It's definitely a film I'd recommend for scenes that feature some of the most realistic dialogue and delivery I've seen. It's heartbreaking, it's sad, but it's also uplifting. Make sure you check it out. Everybody's talking about how good Parasite is as this year's top foreign language film. That's a strong movie, and I can see why most critics adore it, but for my money, The Farewell beats it. There are a few extended sequences in English, but most of the dialogue is delivered in Chinese. The cast is led by Awkwafina's stellar performance as Billy, a U.S. immigrant who visits her dying grandmother in China against her parents' wishes. I won't give away any more of the setup, but just know this film is so relatable that anyone can see themselves in these characters. Coming from a large extended family myself, this really hit home for me big time. This is a sad, quirky, funny, and emotional movie that you can enjoy with family or on your own. This is probably the most sincere and endearing movie on the list. It's a deeply personal story that Shia LaBeouf wrote and acted in as a version of his own father. You can feel how his experiences shape the tone of these scenes that range from heartwarming to heartbreaking and everything in between. Some of the interactions with Shia and the young actor who plays him at 12 leap off the screen and into the real world. It's a brave, baring of the soul that you shouldn't miss. Track it down on streaming and see for yourself. Martin Scorsese's new film is 3.5 hours long. I know a lot of people who watched it on Netflix in a few different sittings. I was not one of them. I did take a short bathroom break about 2.5 hours in, but long movies don't bother me if they're good, and The Irishman is great. My only regret was that I wasn't able to see it in theaters. The tension and suspense built up throughout this movie is a masterclass in storytelling, pacing, and character work. Al Pacino is the standout here as Jimmy Hoffa. Even at 79 years old, he's still turning in Oscar-worthy work. De Niro isn't bad and has a few moments to shine, while Joe Pesci's presence had a positive impact on every scene he's featured in. The filmmakers have admitted this is pretty much a fictional version of real-life events, but the movie as a whole weaves a compelling narrative nonetheless. The only negative knock I have is the CGI they use to de-age the characters. I don't think it looks very good, but as the movie goes on, you get used to it. Personally, I'll always prefer the Looper route, taking another actor and putting a few makeup pieces on them to make them look just enough like the same character at a different age. The rest is up to the mannerisms and voice in the performance. Anyway, The Irishman is one of Scorsese's best films, and that's good enough for my 5th favorite movie of 2019. I saw Joker twice in the theater, several weeks apart. After I left the theater the second time, I could confirm I loved this movie. There was a lot of controversy surrounding this one, but the numbers made it clear that controversy only strengthened the intrigue. Much like Logan in 2017, this was a comic book movie that we had never really seen before. This was a Gotham we had never seen on screen, and Joaquin Phoenix's Joker took cues from a few different sources, but felt so fresh and new. I don't think the movie's perfect, and a few small things stopped it from ranking higher on the list for me, specifically a pacing issue near the end that involved what I think is an out-of-place sequence. Obviously influenced by earlier Scorsese films like Taxi Driver and The King of Comedy, director Todd Phillips made something that's going to stick with me for a long time. From the first trailer, I was very curious to see Taika Waititi's Jojo Rabbit. What I witnessed was something truly special. Set in World War II-era Germany, it follows a young boy who idolizes Adolf Hitler and how he deals with a situation his country's leader wouldn't approve of. It's a heart-wrenching story told through the exaggerated, comedic, but somehow appropriate emotional lens of a child. Sensitive subject matter for sure, but this film says something very important and profound. Sometimes with comedy, sometimes with drama, but always with heart and a sense of compassion. It's one of the more unique films I've seen in quite a while, and it's a definite recommendation. Adam Sandler is an extremely talented actor. Most of us know this. When he wants to, he can give us a performance that stands out amongst his peers and makes us reevaluate just how good he can be. It's a shame he doesn't take risks like Uncut Gems more often. The Safdie brothers' latest is a magnificent, anxiety-ridden ride from start to finish. Anchored by Sandler's frustrating, magnetic performance, this movie shows just how manic a gambling addiction can be, surrounded by a story of deceit and mistrust. Even though Sandler's character is a bit of a slimeball, I still found myself rooting for him in certain scenes. Along with the performances, the structure and writing on this film are top-notch. Do not miss this one. After you're done here, be sure to take a look at my original comedy series, The Infinity Trinity. All 5 episodes are now available right here on the Awesome Walter YouTube channel. Also, don't forget to leave a comment about what you thought of the show. Now, on with the video. This movie is a masterpiece, an absolute top-to-bottom unmitigated phenomenon. Toward the end of this film, my jaw was agape with my hands on my face, marveling at what I was seeing. I loved this movie. Upon leaving the theater, I called it one of the best movies I've ever seen. While I'll have to see it a few more times to know for sure, I couldn't shake that feeling. At the very least, it's in the top few theatrical experiences I've ever had. I'm not a war movie guy. I'm not. I like the good ones like Saving Private Ryan, Full Metal Jacket, etc., but it's not nearly my favorite genre. 1917 is more than a war movie. It's such a simple setup with just two main characters that had me invested immediately. Director Sam Mendes and DP Roger Deakins really outdid themselves here. The whole movie is presented as basically one shot, and how they pulled off what they did was nothing short of astonishing. And not only succeeds at the visuals, but at sound design, music, set design, acting, emotion. This movie perfectly balances all that and more for a film unlike anything I've had the pleasure of seeing on the big screen. Do yourself a favor and see it in the theater. That is the only way you can authentically take in what this movie gives us. 1917 is my favorite film of the year, and I already see that many people share my opinion. Thank you guys for watching, and be sure to check out my top 10 performances of 2019 as well. See you next time.